Margaret Johnson. I'm going to be demoing today, I'm going to be teaching you, I should say, how to make a bread pudding. Bread pudding is a traditional Irish dish, but there's a little twist to it today because I'm using Italian Panettone, which is a yeast bread made with raisins, and it's a typical Christmas dish. This recipe actually first appeared in my Christmas Flavors of Ireland cookbook. It originated with an Irish chef who wanted to give a little different flavor to bread pudding for a festive flavor. So she added some lemon curd, which I'm going to be showing you in a minute. And I'm going to start with slicing the bread. Now I've sliced 8 or 10 slices right now, and I'm going to spread them with lemon curd. Lemon curd is a very traditional Irish and English spread. I guess you could use it almost like a jam or a jelly. It's used on scones for an afternoon tea, and it's quite tart, but it gives an exceptional flavor to this bread pudding. So we're just going to keep spreading as many slices as I think we will need. This is also very versatile. You can put it in the fanciest of casserole dishes that you own or in the simplest. And the bread pudding part of it is going to give it a little different flavor, the panettone part, because it is a yeast bread as opposed to just a normal white bread. So I'm going to butter up these, lemon curd these, and see how many are going to fit in my pan. I'm going to be using a 1.5 quart baking dish here. I'm first of all going to butter it, and this is a little tip. I don't know if it's a tip, but this is the way my mother used to butter her pans. She would take the paper from the butter, and just so she didn't waste any of it. And I'm using Kerrygold Irish butter, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but I'm going to butter the pan and cut the slices in half and just layer them in the pan. Stand them up a little bit. I think the more rustic look, the better. Alternate them like this. You leave the crust on. And if you had, this serves about at least 4 people, 6 people, quite generously. If you had a larger crowd, I would just recommend you obviously increase the eggs and the cream, which we'll be getting to in one minute. It's just a typical custard. I think I made the right decision with the number of slices I cut. And then if you need to, you can cut them a little bit smaller, and actually you can wedge them in here. You want some space between because you want the custard to go down in between the slices of bread. I think, unless I can squeeze one more little piece in here, maybe back here at the end. Okay, so first we have, this arrangement here, overlapping like this. Okay. So I've got my 8 or 10 slices in here now. I've wedged a few more in, and you don't want it too dense because you want the custard to be able to seep down into the little crevices in between. So this is the way it should look, I think, before you put the custard in. So now, this is the custard. I have 5 eggs, 5 large eggs, 2 cups of heavy cream, a sprinkling of nutmeg, and this is pretty standard nutmeg and cinnamon in almost every recipe for bread pudding. You can measure. And when you actually get these recipes on my website, you will see the exact measurements. But it is 5 eggs, 2 cups of cream, nutmeg, cinnamon, and vanilla extract. If you were going to use a larger dish, a larger baking dish, and more slices of bread, you're going to go to a 2 or 3 quart casserole, the basis is 5 eggs and 2 cups of cream. So just increase maybe another half a cup of cream, maybe 1 more egg, and a little sprinkling more of nutmeg and cinnamon. So you might notice that I have the baking dish inside another larger dish, and that's because we're going to cook this in a water bath or a bain-marie, which creates much more even cooking for anything that has custard in it. You don't want the custard to curdle. So we're going to pour this over the bread, over the panettone. And if you can see that it's now seeping down into all those little crevices. And this size dish, which again is 1.5 quarts, is just about perfect for the 5 eggs and for the 2 cups of cream. Now, ideally, you would let this sit for about 30 minutes before you put it in the oven. And the reason for that is the bread fully absorbs, or as much as possible before baking, it fully absorbs the custard. Now this is hot water, so you pour enough hot water into the baking dish until it reaches halfway up the sides. That's just about perfect. Okay, we're going to put this into a 400-degree oven, and it's going to cook for about 30 minutes. Turn on trusty timer. Okay, I'm going to take a look now at the bread pudding. It's been in for almost half, or a little longer than half of its cooking time. But it looks like it's browning up nicely, but I do want to stick a tester in the middle, and you see the custard is still quite runny. So we have a little bit more time on the bread pudding. So this is the finished product. This is the Panettone bread pudding, and it is cooked, I have to say, pretty perfectly. It's going to cook a little bit more if you leave it in the water bath, but you can, of course, take it out carefully and serve it whenever you're ready.